I know that you want to optimize your store for speed and you want to understand how things work. And in this video, I'm going to go over this website that I got from one of my customers and look at the issues that the speed test gave me and try to figure out how I can push this percentage over 50. Because now 33 is not that great. It's not bad, people can use the website, but over 50 is better on mobile. This does well on desktop. I'm just gonna focus on mobile, and I'm pretty sure that by fixing the things I'm gonna look at, I'm gonna affect the desktop speed as well. So let's see what I can discover and fix on this website. I can see that the layout shift is an issue, and I cannot stress enough how important layout shift is. I'm gonna go to the store now and see if I can spot anything on the theme.liquid file, which is the starting point for me. On the theme.liquid file, I'm gonna look for scripts that don't have a defer or an async property, like this one, for example. And you can see that now Shopify shows you that you should use one of these, either async or defer on this kind of links. Some apps require you not to have them because they need those scripts right away. In some cases, these properties make the app break. So I'm going to look and see what app this is and try to add the defer or async property and see if the app still works. From what I can see, that is the banner, the cookie banner. Let me inspect and see if I'm right. So if I go to here, I can see that ILO banner widget. Yeah, ILO banner widget, which is this one. Yeah, I'm gonna try and add first a defer property. Defer is more powerful than async. Async allows the script to load in the same time with the website, and defer will stop the script from loading until the website is already downloaded, and then the script gets downloaded. Okay, let's go and see if the cookie banner still loads, and if it still loads, and yeah, it still loads. So they don't actually need to have their scripts load right away. You can defer them in some cases. Apps just want you to see their widget right away so that you can keep on paying for that app. But in some cases, you can just add the defer property to that code, and that will allow the code to download later after the website downloaded. So you will get less of this blocking time. I'm gonna try it again. No big change will happen because of this. It was just a small adjustment. And make sure when you test, you don't test just once. Sometimes Google will take the older version and test it again and give you the same result, and you will think that your change didn't impact anything. I can see something changed here. I can try again and see if the result changes. Usually I take 3 tests and I average the results. So let's see if this had any impact. And as I said, the impact is minimal because this was just a small change. And what I wanted to say is that the most time you will spend is wait for this test to complete. And you really have to be patient with it and try it several times because of caching issues. So servers over there will keep an older version of your store if you're testing fast. So you do a change and then you test right away. They might test the old version of the site because the files were not updated over there. So you'll have to test a couple of times to make sure your change went through. And I'm gonna go now back to my theme.liquid and try to see if I have some other scripts I can defer or I can async, and see what else I can find here. So I see that these scripts over here are all deferred. By the way, you can add it like that, defer equals defer, or you can add it like I've added it here. This is gonna do the same exact thing. I didn't find anything else other than this, and I'm not sure what this does. I think this is a speed service kind of thing. I'm not gonna touch this because I don't know how it looks on the site or what effects has on the site. I'm just gonna leave it as it is. But again, these should have a defer property on. Let's see if I can find the store. So Website Speedy is a speed optimization tool. I'm not sure what this does. I'm thinking that it caches some of the files on the store, but you don't need to actually use a caching service with Shopify because Shopify has this done automatically. If you want, I see they have it here. I'm not sure what this does really. because the site speed is not really affected by that script. I tried to comment this out, and the speed remains kind of the same. So I'm not going to touch these scripts, but I'm not sure if they are actually useful. Let's go over the rest. Nothing else that I could right away spot on the theme.liquid file. So that's why I'm going to go back to my test and run it again and see what clues the test gives me so that I can go on and do some fixes. By the looks of this test, and the results are swinging a lot, probably there are a lot of apps loading or something happens over there. I see that the blocking time is a bit less than before, and the loading is quite gradual, but some things happen over here. We have a large layout shift happening here, and I can see it right here. It's bigger than before. Something happens over here in between these, and I think it's this Trustpilot script that is loading on in between the announcement bar and the site. I am gonna go and inspect to see what scripts are loaded for the Trustpilot widget and see if I can do something to lazy load that. So in order to check what scripts are responsible for this widget, I'm gonna inspect the store, and I'm gonna go to the head of the store. So you have the head tag here, and you're gonna open that up. I am looking for an async function. That function is responsible for all the app scripts that get injected into our theme. And you can find that async function in one of these empty scripts. So you're gonna have to open the head tag and scroll down until you find these unmarked script tags here, and you can open them up and check if the async function is in one of them, because it's usually in the last one, but you can check them all if you're not sure. This one, and here's the async function. So you can see the async function looks like this: async load, and you have all the links for the scripts that are going to be populated on your store. And by the looks of it, I see that there are a lot of Trustpilot scripts that get injected, and probably that's causing a lot of issues. For stores that have multiple scripts in here, I have something that could help. And if you head to my store, I have this product over here that once installed will make sure that all of these scripts get triggered by human interaction. Well, now they load in the same time with the website, and they create this blocking time. And in some cases, some of the apps will have some assets that will create some layout shift and so on. So I'm going to go and install this product on the store and see if that improves anything. I'm going to go to my theme.liquid, scroll down to the content for header tag. If you want, you can just search for it. So content for header. This is the tag that is responsible for that async function. So if I would be to comment this out, the apps will not load on the store. What we want is to lazy load all the scripts so that the apps will load later, not during the loading time of the website. They will wait until the website gets loaded, and then whenever the user interacts with the site, these scripts will be triggered to load as well. So in order to do that, I'm going to comment this out, and I'm going to add the functionality that I have in this document here. So you will have to copy everything in between start of Shopify Speed Boost and end of Shopify Speed Boost. You will just gonna copy that, go to your theme.liquid file, and then paste it underneath this commented tag, which will make sure that the scripts get lazy loaded. So I'm going to save that, and I'm going to go here and inspect the site, go to the console, and then refresh. In order to check if the lazy loading script works, you will just have to refresh the page and then wait for a bit, and then go with your mouse over the page. And if you get this message here, that means that the scripts are lazy loaded. So I'm going to refresh again and look at the Trustpilot widget, which doesn't show at the moment. But whenever I go with the mouse over the page, the widget gets populated, because that is the moment the mouse enters the page, is the moment where the Trustpilot scripts get loaded, and that will save us from some blocking time and some effects, some bad effects that those scripts have over the site. So I'm gonna go and test again the speed. Now we are at 19. It was around 30 before, and the layout shift was 170 something. Let's see if this changes anything. Yeah, so it definitely changed some things. Now we are at 38 and the blocking time is not that big anymore. I'm gonna try a couple of more tests and see if the results are constant. If you don't have apps that are slowing your site down and your site is slowed down by different issues, this script might not be as effective, but usually it improves the site speed with around 10-15%. You see now we are over 40. Let's try again. I'm looking to get over 50 constantly, so I will have to go and address this layout shift and then maybe the LCP. I'm gonna now look to see if I can spot the reason for this LCP. While I was thinking is the Trustpilot widget, it seems like it's not completely the Trustpilot widget. It seems like it's something else and I'm not sure what. Let's see how we can find that out. So I'm gonna go back to the store. I'm gonna go to my network tab, and in here I'm gonna go here to throttling, and I am going to try to load the site at a 3G speed, which should be slow, and it should give me enough time to see if anything moves on the page. Let's refresh and see if we can spot anything. So at 3G speeds, it looks like this, and I already see a couple of things. Let's try a slower speed than 3G. I think 3G is kind of fast still. We don't see clearly what's happening. I see that Trustpilot does something there. And if you want to see how a slower speed looks like, you can go here to throttling and add a new profile. I've added this one, which is kind of slow. Let's see if we can spot anything with using this slow 3G custom profile that I made. Whenever you refresh the page, you should see the files loading really slow, and then you're gonna see the elements populating on the page better. So we have the header. Yeah, something happens here with this, which first loads here and then it gets slapped over here. Let's try again. And if it seems like your speed is still fast, you would have to go to another profile and then go back to your custom profile and refresh the page, because sometimes it doesn't work directly. For example, now it still seems fast to me, but I could see that this image loaded here first and then it went up. And I think that's the source of the layout shift. Let's try making this a bit slower if we can. So edit, I'm gonna set here 20 kilobits and I'm gonna refresh. Yeah, we can see the header is over here and then there. So probably it's something with how the page loads. I'm not sure why. Let's try and catch it. So I'm going to refresh the page, and whenever I see the image loading over here, I'm gonna stop the loading of the page. Let's try again. So by inspecting, I can see that this is a Trustpilot widget that is larger than normal. I'm gonna try and shrink this one down and see if it changes anything. So I'm gonna say max height 24px. So nothing happened. So this is not the widget actually. I think it can be the body tag itself. I think I remember that in the beginning, I used to always add display block to the body tag. And yeah, this is solving this issue. So I'm gonna go and look for the body tag in my theme here. So I have the head tag. I'm gonna scroll down to the body tag, which is here. And in the beginning, when using the Dawn theme, I always added style display block, but I'm not sure why this jump happens. Let's just check it again with a faster. Yeah, I don't think the layout shift happens anymore. I see that everything is at the top from the beginning. Let's try a slower version. Yeah, let's see if the layout shift happens now. No, I think that the layout shift disappeared. So I didn't see this jump from down below. It just worked. So let's go to a 3G speed again and refresh. I don't see a layout shift happen. Let's go and try now a test again. Here is the result. Let's see if we still have. And as I said before, we still have the same layout shift here, and you might get discouraged and think that things didn't change, when actually this is something that can be a cache issue for the speed test. So I'm gonna try again. No, it seems that we still have the layout shift happening, but I see the page is loading correctly now. I don't have the hero image down below. I think we still have some issues over there. but they are not the issues that they were before. So before we had the entire DOM in here, now I see just the top hero banner and some other things, but the whole body issue was removed by that change that we've just done. And I'm gonna look into why we have movement here, because I don't actually see it. Let's go again to the 3G speed and try to spot if anything moves in here. So we have the banner loading, but this is too fast. So I'm gonna go again to slow 3G and try to figure out what's moving around this area. I think that this was not looking like that, right? Like this. Yeah, this is shrinking at one point, but I'm not sure why. So let's go and try again to make this a GIF, so maybe we can see better what's moving. You can come to this website over here and paste the link of your store, and they will give you a GIF of the page loading. And sometimes you can actually see what's moving on the page by using this visual approach. And I can see that things are getting squished in here at one point, but I'm not sure why. Let's try again, because also the CLS is not registered on this platform. I'm not seeing the 170 something that Google shows me. Yeah, the same thing. So everything gets squished in here. Let's look again here and refresh it with a slow speed and see if we can spot the movement again. Firstly, it loads full width and then for some reason it gets shrunk, and that can get registered also as CLS. Let's see what's causing that. So I'm gonna inspect it and look at what's causing that movement to happen. We have here a page width of 70 and I think that's it. But where does this come from? Wait a second, is this on the theme.liquid? So if I go and say 70%, yeah, this style over here is causing that. And that's because the style overrides what's in the base CSS file, which loads somewhere on top here. So I'm gonna take this out for a second and see if the CLS still happens. Let's try locally first. I'm gonna go to Lighthouse and try to see if I get any CLS over here. So we saw that the hero banner was directly on top. That should not be an issue anymore. And now the page remains full width on the entire time. Yeah, so we don't have the CLS anymore. The CLS was caused by that line of CSS. So I'm gonna move this style tag to the end of the head tag instead of the body tag. So I'm gonna add a space here and paste the style sheet over here. And I'm gonna try that again. Hopefully we're gonna keep the styling and not get CLS. As you can see, it was much faster to load, because before this style had to wait for everything to get loaded and then was applied. Yeah, we still have 0 layout shift. So that means this works. By moving this style at the end of the head tag, we don't get that CLS anymore. And I think that this style should be applied just for desktop. I'm not sure why it is applied on mobile, because when you go to smaller sizes, then you get this really shrunken version, and I'm not sure if that's optimal. So I'm going to just add a media query on top of this and make it load just on mobile phone or tablet sizes. So I'm gonna say add media only screen and min width px. I'm gonna insert everything that I have here in this media query. That will make sure that this CSS will only load after the size of 767. So whatever devices are under that size will not be affected by this styling. Let's save and refresh the page. Now we have normal width here on mobile. It's not shrunken anymore, but on desktop it remains at 70%. Probably the customer wanted it like that. But let's see if the theme doesn't have an option to shrink that. So probably instead of using this max width on page width, you can probably go in layout and adjust this to your preference. You can make it larger or smaller. I think maybe 1000 pixels might. I don't know if it gets to 70%, but still using the theme's adjustments to do that can be better than just adding these. But now the CLS is fixed and you can keep the styling as well. And if you want it on mobile as well, you can just remove this. But on mobile, I think you should enjoy the entire screen. So if you have it at 70%, it looks like this. It's gonna get the text shrunken in the middle, and you're gonna have this white band on the side, and I think that's not optimal. With that media query added, you're gonna have the full size of the page, and you're not gonna have those white bands on the sides and so on. I think this looks better, but if you have a particular reason for which to have that white bands on the side, then you can just remove this media query here and this curly bracket there, and that's it. So now let's test it again and see what the results are. Yeah, this looks good. We don't have any CLS anymore, and I think I'm gonna do one more thing. I'm gonna look inside here because I saw that one image was lazy loaded. This one here is lazy loaded, and whatever you have visible on the page, no matter if it's low here or the logo over there or the hero banner, everything that is visible directly, it should not be lazy loaded. And I know this is a pickle because we have here a carousel and this image is lazy loaded and it shouldn't be. I'm gonna show you in a second how that looks like. If you're gonna go inside here at media, you're gonna see that this is loading lazy and it should actually be loading eager because it's in view. First, I'm gonna go and look at the sections on the page, and I'm gonna do that in the customized dashboard. I'm gonna open that up and look at what elements I have on the page. I'm gonna close these. So we have the slideshow firstly, then we have the collection list. So the collection list should have the first image loading eager on mobile. I'm gonna go back here and search for collection list. And in here, I'm gonna search for an image that gets rendered. So I'm pretty sure that this is the collection card that gets rendered. Let's open this widget as well. And we can see here that the image is loading lazy. If I remove this, that means that all the images in here will not lazy load anymore, and we don't want that. We just want to lazy load the first image that shows on mobile, this one over here. So to do that, I will have to add some logic. In here, I'm going to add the following logic. If for loop index equals 1, I'm going to assign a variable named lazy. This is what I came up with. Assign it to false if the for loop index is 1, and else assign it to true. Because we are in a for loop for blocks, I'm going to get a for loop index, which is the number of the block. So if I'm dealing with the first block, then I'm going to assign the variable lazy to false. And if the block is not the first one, I'm gonna assign the variable to true. And I'm going to use this variable inside the card collection snippet. And to do that, I'm going to have to pass the value of lazy inside this snippet. I'm going to add another line here, and I'm gonna say lazy is lazy. That's it. Because that means that I'm passing a variable inside the snippet named lazy that has the value of lazy, and this value here is the value I just assigned to the lazy variable here. So you just have to create the variable, assign it a value, and then pass it to this snippet over here. Now I'm gonna save this, and if I go inside the card collection snippet, now I can add the following logic to the lazy part here. So I'm going to replace the loading lazy property with this logic. Because I passed the lazy variable to the snippet, now I know if the lazy is true or false based on the number of this block. So in here, I'm actually saying that if the first block gets rendered, you add the loading eager property to that image, else you add the loading lazy property to that image. And I'm going to go to the page here. I'm gonna refresh it and check if my logic worked. So the first image here should have the loading eager property, and I can see that in here, loading eager. And if I go to the second image, which is this one, we should have the image loading lazy, and it is. So the first is eager and the second is lazy, the third is lazy, everything is lazy but the first. and that should solve the LCP for this image here. Let's go and run another test and see if there is any improvement. Yep, we can see that this had quite positive impact. We are now over 50. And I'm going to run a couple of more tests to see if this result is constant. This looks even better. So let's run again through the things I've done. And at the end, I'm going to run another test. You see, now we are over 50. Let's go through the changes. So in this particular case, what I've done is I've added a defer property to this code here, which is responsible for the cookie banner. Then I went and added the Shopify speed boost, and you can find that over here on my website. This will help async all the app scripts that you have on your store. You'll find the instructions of how to install on the document that you will get after purchasing this. Then I found this CSS that was loading at the end of the body tag. That means that it was rewriting whatever we had in our base.css file, which is over here. So this was loading firstly with some basic settings, and then at the end of the body tag we were rewriting that with this CSS, and that was causing some horizontal issues that we fixed by just moving the style at the end of the head tag instead of the body tag. I've also added a media query that made this CSS affect only screen sizes over 767 pixels. This media query made the mobile look a little bit better. Not being squished by 70% allowed the content to go full width, and that looks a little bit better. Then we went and add the style display block on the body tag so that we avoid that layout shift that was happening where the hero banner was loaded lower and then it was pushed up, and we fixed that by adding a display block to the body tag. And lastly, we added this logic to the collection list section, where we defined where to add lazy loading and where not to add lazy loading. So we've added this logic here. Then we rendered this snippet using that logic. And inside the card collection, we also added this logic on the image so that the loading eager and loading lazy show in the right scenarios. By doing these changes, we went from 33 in here to 58. And I'm gonna run another test now, just to check if that result is constant. Yep, we are over 50 indeed. Of course, there are many other things that we can do on this theme. I'm gonna stop here because this was the goal, going over 50 on mobile. And as you can see now on desktop, we are at 93. Where before this was much lower. This is the speed optimization process that I go through when optimizing Shopify stores for speed. If you like this kind of video, subscribe to the channel. If you want to know more about Shopify speed optimization, I think you'd be interested in seeing that video over there.